It's Friday, June 8th, and this is your Barbados Today News Update. So glad you can join us. I'm Fernella Wedderburn. The way is now clear for 3 additional senators to take up their posts in the upper chamber. At today's first session of the Senate, members voted 15-1 to approve an amendment to the Constitution to facilitate the move, which will see Rowden Adams, the son of late Prime Minister Tom Adams, former Consul General K. McCarney, appointed as government senators, and Althea Wiggins, who has been named by the Governor General as an independent senator. During today's debate, the amendment tabled by Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Senator Jerome Walcott, got a stinging rebuke from the lone opposition senator, Caswell Franklin. He accused the government of rushing to make changes to accommodate people he referred to as the elite.
I think it is a rush to facilitate individuals. If this were a bill intended for the general population of Barbados, any person in Barbados, I would have supported it. But sir, we start in this system where we have the elites and others. This bill is intended to facilitate the elites. And coming from a background where my mother worked in the plantation and my father drove a tractor in the plantation, I do not consider myself to be an elite, so I don't think that this would have been done for me or most other people in Barbados. But we jump through hoops to facilitate certain people.
But in a strong defense, Government Senator Lynette Holder described Senator Franklin's accusation as disturbing, insisting that the change was necessary to allow Barbadians who subsequently held other citizenships to be able to give back at the national level.
So when I hear from the mouthings of the member words such as elites, and that this provision is for the elites, and a select few to benefit from what we understand on this side to be removing any kind of discrimination that would prevent Barbadians from participating in our governance, I am somewhat disturbed. Honestly, Mr. President, it has left me wondering what could have informed the member's presentation when in the other place, Mr. President, his leader supported this amendment. When in the other place, Mr. President, the leader of my comrade supported the amendments that are being proposed, I wonder what would have led to his submission.
Independent Senator Kevin J. Boyce argued that the change was too swift and there should have been more time for more consultation on the matter. He, however, suggested there was merit in the move, given that the fact that the world is now a global village.
When you consider the youth of Barbados and the mobility which they exercise, the way the world is contracting, the linkages that have been formed with Barbadians and other nations, some for convenience, I dare say some for love. We have a lot of rank and file Bajans with more than one citizenship. And in seeking to say that we should limit the members of both places to a category which does not have that, you're actually, Senator, practicing a form of reverse discrimination. The proposal, by allowing persons with more than one form of citizenship, actually cast a wider net. Now, certainly, for the reasons stated, concern could be asked as to why it's being done for these persons in these circumstances. But as independent senators, we consider the good of all.
In other news, 32-year-old Dwayne Omar Ward of Darrell's Hill Christ Church, who was shot by police on Tuesday, has died. He passed away this morning at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital around 7:50 a.m. Ward was shot at Maxwell Plains Christ Church on Tuesday. Police Public Relations Officer Acting Inspector Rodney Innes told the media that Ward had confronted officers who were conducting investigations in the area by speeding towards them in a vehicle. He said the officers then fired shots at the vehicle to protect themselves. The director of Ouch Boutique was today fined $15,000 for selling fake Puma merchandise, including Fenty by Rihanna items. Magistrate Graveney Bannister imposed the fine on Grenville Ricardo Delpish of Passage Road, Passage Gardens, St. Michael in the District A Magistrates Court. He had to pay $3,000 of the amount forthwith in order to avoid 3 months in prison. That money was paid. The 44-year-old, who was represented by attorney Satchel Kitsoon, was found guilty earlier this year of selling Puma Fenty by Rihanna Creeper sneakers and Puma Fenty sleepers and exposing for sale 17 Puma slippers, 7 single shoes and 31 backpacks, which were counterfeit. The offenses were committed in May last year. Magistrate Bannister imposed a fine of $5,000 for each of the 3 offenses. Delpish must pay the remainder of the fine, that's $12,000, in 6 months, or he will spend 6 months at HMP Dodds. Government today rolled out a program to tackle the Sargassum seaweed, now blanketing several of the island's beaches. Today, members of the Barbados Defense Force were deployed to conduct cleanup operations. At a news conference at the popular Bath Beach in St. John, Minister of Maritime Affairs and the Blue Economy, Kirk Humphrey, expressed concern that the seaweed is taking a toll on the fishing industry.
The seaweed comes in, I'm told that some areas it looks like it's just floating on the surface, but there's some areas where I'm told it's beyond 4 feet in depth. It's thick. And beyond that, it's also impacting the fish that comes. We're not seeing, I'm told by the Fisheries Department, that we're not seeing the same fish, the flying fish. The flying fish doesn't like to move with the seaweed because it can't float. You know, flying fish likes to fly. It can't fly in the seaweed. And that's been impacting the fishermen as well. There are a number of fishermen who haven't been able to make a good catch because of the impact of the seaweed. There are different fish that are coming, thankfully, but hopefully over time the impact will be less.
The government is treating the situation as a national emergency. Humphrey also revealed that plans are in the pipeline to block the seaweed from making its way from the south coast to the west coast of the island.
We've decided that we have to, as a matter of priority for Barbadians, remove the seaweed. It is our understanding that most of the seaweed comes in on the east and the north coast. And then it makes its way like through a conveyor belt in the beach toward the south coast. We believe if we can cut it off at the source point where it comes in on the east coast, that we will be able to prevent it from going on to the south coast beaches, which, as you know, is part of our tourist belt. And it's our intention to prevent it from doing so. In any event, by the time it reaches the south coast, it is already at a point where it has deteriorated to a point where it is no longer able to be used for anything of value. What we're getting here now is something that is of some value. We consider it harvesting the seaweed because we believe we can use it for something else.
Agriculture Minister Indawe is encouraging the island's farmers to prepare to exploit new opportunities that will open up as his government prepares to make provision for the medical use of marijuana. He made the comments while speaking at the 3rd Annual Caribbean Nutrition Conference at the Caribbean Agricultural Research Development Institute this morning. He is confident that the move will benefit the country, especially the agriculture sector.
But as we start to think of the options in terms of our ointments and our creams and the teas, then we start to understand that medical marijuana treatment gives Barbadians an option that is so vast and so large that we now see before us an opportunity for the empowerment of Barbadians in agriculture.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
The Caribbean's tourism sector is still holding its own despite a tough recovery period after hurricanes battered several destinations last year. That's according to the chairman of the Caribbean Tourism Organization, who says confidence remains strong and this will bode well for the sector. He gave the assessment as officials from the Caribbean Tourism Organization held a press conference as part of Caribbean Week in New York.
While the region was galloping along last year at a phenomenal pace that was well over the global average, arrivals took, as you can imagine, a massive hit in the last quarter from Hurricanes Irma and Maria, and even Harvey, that impacted the southern United States. The slowdown continued into the first quarter of this year, with figures compiled by the CTO from member countries, showing that the region received an estimated 8.2 million international tourist visits during that period, approximately 500,000 fewer than the same period in 2017, or a 6.2% decline.
Meanwhile, Caribbean countries spared the wrath of the hurricanes have recorded double-digit growth.
The Commonwealth countries group led growth across the sub-regions, with international tourist arrivals up 11.1% by the end of the quarter. Regarding source markets, Canada was the best performer, with a 6.6% increase, while Europe grew by 2.2%. And the signs are that the Caribbean is on the mend.
And further afield, President Donald Trump said Friday that Russia should be reinstated to the leading group of industrialized nations ahead of his visit to the G7 summit this weekend. Russia was suspended from the group known as the G8 in 2014.
Russia should be in this meeting. Why are we having a meeting without Russia being in the meeting? And I would recommend, and it's up to them, but Russia should be in the meeting. It should be a part of it. You know, whether you like it or not, and it may not be politically correct, but we have a world to run. And in the G7, which used to be the G8, they threw Russia out. They should let Russia come back in.
And that's news, but for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, and like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, as well as Screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. And you can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM. I'm Fernella Wedderburn. Do have a safe and wonderful weekend.